Listen to my voice, singing in the wind. Feel my gentle touch in the golden sunlight. I was born to love. Kiss your tears away, banish all your fears. Fill the world with joy. See my loving glow in a blushing flower. Watch my dreams take wings over sky so blue. I will save the earth and its every glory. I will teach my child every golden story. Listen to my voice, singing in the wind. Feel my gentle touch in the golden sunlight. I was born to love. Kiss your tears away, banish all your fears. Fill the world with joy. See my loving glow in a blushing flower. Watch my dreams take wings over sky so blue. I will save the earth and its every glory. I will teach my child every golden story. Woman of the earth.
So, ladies and gentlemen, a warm and green afternoon to everyone, and welcome to the biggest advocacy-driven beauty pageant in the country. This is Miss Earth Australia 2021. I am Sheridan Mortlock, your current Miss Earth Air Australia and your host for today. Firstly, I would like to thank our sponsor this afternoon, Megaworld International, for bringing in the third batch of our national finalists to discuss their advocacies about the environment. And of course, Megaworld International is headed by the ever-energetic Miss Liz Angeles and Vice President for Asia and Pacific 3. Thank you very much. And to the viewers who are watching us live on our official Miss Earth Australia Facebook and YouTube page, I want to thank you wherever you are for watching us right now. Please continue sharing your messages, reactions, and feedback in the comment section throughout this afternoon. It is the first week of the spring season here, and we continue to battle this COVID-19 pandemic. The resilience of Miss Earth Australia advocacies continue to be stronger as its torch continues to inspire environmental guardians across the country. Last week, we heard our second batch of national finalists discuss about endangered species and deforestation. This afternoon, our last set of national finalists are here for the final environmental talk, and their topic today is ecotourism. So, without further ado, in this lovely afternoon, let us meet our final batch of 4 gorgeous and beautiful national finalists. First up, I would like to introduce Nicola.
Hello, my name is Nicola. I'm 20 years old and I'm from Port Macquarie, New South Wales.
Thank you, Nicola. Second of all, I would love to introduce Emily.
Hello, I'm Emily Side from Wagga Wagga in regional New South Wales.
Thirdly, I would love to introduce Jessie. Sorry, Jessie, you're just on mute.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Jessie. I'm 27 and I'm from Melbourne, Victoria.
And then last but not least, I would love to introduce Iris.
Hello everyone, my name is Iris Lee. I'm 27 years old and I'm from South Australia. Excuse me because I just finished work, that's why I'm in scrub. But thank you for being here and supporting all of us.
Thank you, everyone, and a big welcome to all 4 of you. Welcome to your environmental talk. As you know, our topic today is ecotourism. However, first of all, just so the viewers watching get to know a little bit more about you, I'd like to go around and ask you all what your advocacy is and how you ended up being part of the Miss Earth Australia organisation. So, Nicola, would you like to explain your story?
I'd love to. So I was really drawn to Miss Earth Australia because it is really the pageant system which most reflects my views. The fact that I am really interested in advocacy is something which has always really guided me. And my advocacies, which I'm focusing on and I have been focusing on my whole life, are animal rights, especially in relation to the meat industry. I would like to focus on deforestation and also pollution because, especially as someone who lives really close to the beach, they are issues that are really close to my heart. And I'm so honoured and excited to be able to have this platform to get to talk about that with all of you and to get to meet all these beautiful women and be, on Miss Earth Australia. I couldn't be more excited.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I look forward to asking you some questions about your advocacy later on in the live. But for now, Emily, please tell me what your advocacy is and how you ended up being part of Miss Earth Australia.
Yes, thank you, Sheridan. Well, as I said, I'm from regional New South Wales, Wagga Wagga, and I spend pretty much every weekend at my grandparents' farm in Tarcutta, which I think is where my love for animals came from and environmental issues. So my advocacy is to raise awareness and to reduce global consumer consumption, which is essentially about fast fashion and single-use plastic. So I'm trying to reduce those areas.
Thank you so much. And that's actually so funny you say that. I am also currently in Wagga Wagga as we speak. So we've got that connection already. I love that. Small town rural representation. Exactly right. Now, quickly moving on, Jessie, please tell me what your advocacy is and why you're part of Miss Earth Australia this year.
My advocacy is for the preservation and protection of Australian wildlife. And the reason I was drawn to Miss South Australia is that I was already in the fashion industry modeling, and then I was looking at different pageants, and I thought that this was a really amazing platform to sort of combine what I already do with something I feel really passionately about, which is like animals. I grew up around animals, traveling around Australia, and I think that their conservation is more important and affects more people than they realize. So it's good to have a platform to really share that.
Yeah, having a platform is really great, and that's fantastic that you found this and you joined it and it aligned with your beliefs. It's so great when that happens. And then finally, of course, last but definitely not least, Iris, what is your advocacy and how did you end up joining the Miss Earth Australia?
The interesting thing is with me, I noticed the other girls' journey is kind of like you always been passionate about the environment and you find Miss Earth resonate with you and you want to use this as a platform to spread the message. But for me, my journey is actually the other way around. So I actually came across Miss Earth not kind of know what to expect. I was like the fool in the tarot deck kind of thing. However, I've always been a nature lover and nature has always been my muse, because I'm romantic and nature touched me in like a very sentimental, poetic way. So I guess being in Miss Earth and getting opportunity to learn more about the environmental issues ignites my passion. And Miss Earth is actually my cradle for the environmental protection journey. My advocacy is regenerative farming. I know this concept may sound new to a lot of people, but it ultimately is to combat climate change by sequestering the CO2 in the atmosphere, deep in the soil, using plant and a lot of holistic grazing techniques and crop rotation, etc., to promote soil health. So that's my advocacy.
Fantastic, thank you. That was actually when I joined Miss Earth Australia at the very beginning. Agricultural was what I also focused on, as I come from a country town where farming is the major source of income and a lot of jobs there. So yeah, it's very, very important. I'm glad that you're talking about it. That's fantastic. We're getting a lot of support in the comments as well. Thank you everybody watching for sending in your comments. Please feel free to keep sending them in, and also any questions that you have that you would love to ask the ladies, and we will do our best to get to them throughout this live. So now getting to the topic of today's environmental talk, we are talking about ecotourism. I would like to know your opinions, your thoughts on why you think ecotourism is important. And if you've got any examples, feel free to use those as well. Or if you don't know very much about ecotourism, just tell me something about your advocacy that you think is really important that more people should know about. So to begin with, I think I'll start with Nicola.
Thank you. So something which really touches me about ecotourism is before I even knew what that term meant, I was really engaging with it weekly. So where I'm from, there's a really beautiful nature reserve. It's called Sea Acres, and it's a national park. It basically has many activities in terms of cultural experiences of Indigenous people, including like Indigenous food, Indigenous practices. It has a nature boardwalk, and it has a lot of educational activities for schools and tourists about basically how we can conserve the environment, and it does that through a medium of showing you something so beautiful, a rainforest. And that really stood out to me, and it always has, and it's something which really has made me want to go down the path that I'm on. So I think ecotourism is incredibly important because it has the ability to open people's eyes to why it's important.
I absolutely love that, and I do believe things such as ecotourism, as you were saying, being able to find something that connects you to nature makes you appreciate it more, as you were saying, and like being able to have that connection then makes you more prone to want to protect it and preserve it, and then that can lead to environmental conservation, which is fantastic. Emily, I would love to know your thoughts now on ecotourism. Any thoughts, ideas? It's an open space.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think ecotourism is about conservation, it's about linking communities, and also it's about sustainable travel. And I know that when I travelled a couple of years ago to Tasmania, we went and saw a Tasmania devil conservation place, and so the funds from the tickets that we purchased actually went into the conservation of Tasmanian devils, because I know that particular species has been on the decline for many years. So that's one example that for me personally. But I also know that the Great Barrier Reef, I mean, it was listed as a World Heritage Site in 2007, I believe. And we've lost so much of the coral reefs there, unfortunately, through coral bleaching, which is from the higher sea temperatures. And so it's great that there are ecotourism tours going on at the moment at the Great Barrier Reef, because it lets everyone know in the tours about it gives them the education and the funds to continue to conserve the Great Barrier Reef.
Yes, and it's when you've got beautiful things like that, of course, everyone wants to see it, but we've got to be careful about how we tread and how we impact the environment in order to be able to keep seeing these beautiful things such as the coral reef. So that's fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
Jessie, oh, sorry. Jessie, please tell me what your thoughts are on ecotourism.
I think that ecotourism has become extremely vital in terms of just the tourism industry. Not only because it educates people, it does encourage conservation not only of the environment and the living beings in it, but also the cultures surrounding it. So ecotourism encourages sort of already, it encourages business within cultures already. So native cultures or people who already exist in the community, it encourages them to grow, and it also goes into sort of keep more incentive for bigger businesses to have things like energy efficient things in their hotels and everything like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on ecotourism. And then Iris, finally, what are your thoughts on ecotourism? And then we'll get to some questions in the Facebook comments.
I'm actually quite lucky because I was born and raised in Vietnam. And as you guys know, Vietnam is very blessed with the diverse topography and the climatic conditions. So we are a lucrative opportunity for ecotourism. And I've been in a lot of eco tours since I was a kid, with school, with family, etc. And I think ecotourism is a double-edged sword. So it got pros and cons, just like everything else in life. And the term ecotourism itself is kind of like an oxymoron. So, ecotourism use transportation, and transportation use a lot of fuel, and fuel, got negative impact on the environment. So I can explain more later, but yeah, in short, I just want to say that there's pros and cons, and it's not about ecotourism, it's about how we implement the practices.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like everything's always going to have positives and negatives. And then you just sort of have to determine, weigh which one might be better or worse in the situation. Thank you, ladies, all for your answers. They were absolutely fantastic. We're now going to move on to some questions in the Facebook comments. I'm just going to read them out, and whoever wants to answer them, just raise your hand. First one in there gets to answer. So we've got this one from Kanika, who's also another one of our national finalists. And she asked a question. What are the consequences of travellers potentially harming Australian landscapes in their journeys of ecotourism? Does anyone want to give that a crack?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yep, Jessie.
I think similar to what you mentioned before, having too much tourism in one spot can cause damage to the environment. People can get excited. Too much can cause too much traffic. So I think having too much tourism in one spot can be something that causes damage to that area. I think that just kind of goes in with educating people on how to behave in a certain environment. Don't touch things. If we're going to go somewhere, we need to be very conscious of preserving it. And even if that means sort of maybe only having certain amounts of groups allowed through at a certain type of year, it's kind of worth the wait. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen also things like that. For example, there was this one beach in Australia, I forget where, but it had pink sand. I'm pretty sure it was Australia. But so many people went there that the pink sand went away, and so we weren't able to enjoy that anymore. And so by, minimizing the impacts that we have, it can last for longer so that more people can see it, even though it feels like a restriction. It's better for the long term and longevity. So that's, fantastic. I agree with you, Jessie.
As Rock had a very similar case where they stopped people from climbing it to encourage the preservation of the actual site.
Yeah, because it was totally deteriorating in Indigenous lands and everything. It was, things like that where you have to, once again, the pros and cons of things such as ecotourism. We have a question here from, I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, but it's Huang Li. Huang asks, how can we switch to eco-friendly products while still supporting tourism while the green premium is still quite high? And by the green premium, I think he means that usually switching to more green alternatives is usually more expensive for businesses. So how do we encourage people to switch when it might be more expensive for them? Would somebody like to give this one a go? And sorry, I've noticed that Iris keeps dropping in and out. We are trying to get her back, don't worry. So would someone like to
I'd love to take
question?
this one.
Yes, go ahead, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think this is actually a really important thing to talk about, and it is going to be intrinsically tied to tourism because whether it is domestic or international, which is impossible at the moment really, but any kind of tourism is going to mean we need a higher level of items like supplied to us because there is going to be more demand, which means there's going to be more production, which of course means there's going to be that bigger impact on the environment whether we like it or not, just purely because the level of production is going to be so high. And of course, that idea of the green premium, it is going to cost people more, and that can, whether we mean to or not, cause a greater division between perhaps the poor and the rich, perhaps between tourists and those who live in a certain place. And I think that the last thing that anyone would want is to harm the environment through tourism when that environment is people's home, when that environment is the home of cultures and history. Like, that is really something we need to avoid. So I think that the ways that we should switch, honestly, that I've seen implemented in the best way, would include walking tours, hiking tours. If we can promote a connection to the environment that is based on that personal experience and based on that immersion in that environment, as opposed to buses or boats or anything else like that. If we're able to minimize that, and if we're able to also minimize, hopefully, the reliance on external sources, when I was originally saying about needing that high demand for products, if we can perhaps get those products from the local place, then maybe this won't be pushing locals outside of their own homes. Maybe that will in fact help them, which is what would be the best thing, I think, to avoid that.
Yeah, and I've even seen in places, in really high tourist places, destinations such as, I think it was Italy, a lot of people are buying houses there and then just renting them out as Airbnbs during the peak seasons. But that causes those towns to then fall apart because there's no one there throughout the year to help, maintain the economy or anything like that. And so it's really important that we're able to preserve the natural locations. Otherwise, there is no tourism. And, places such as Australia who rely heavily on that tourism will start to see, really negative impacts happening there. So thank you so much for your thoughts on that. We have another question here from Brittany Dixon, who's our Miss Earth Australia. And she asks, what role do you believe zoos play in ecotourism? Is it positive or negative? Would someone like to have a go at this question? If not, I'm going to allocate one of them. Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's both positive and negatives. I think people encourage zoos purely out of educational purposes. This obviously can lead to like a negative view. The animals can sort of be locked up. There's compromises and cuts made to the welfare of the animals. I think zoos can be particularly important if they are seen more as like programs as well. So repopulation programs, if we begin to see zoos and treat zoos more as a way to conserve animals, and eventually even pushing that through to national parks and everything, if we can make zoos more of a conservation act as opposed to a sort of form of entertainment or even just a straight up way of just looking at animals for education, that could be a more positive way to view it, because there are a lot of negatives to zoos at the moment. Like, nobody wants to see these animals locked up in glass cages. I think
And I
there is a
know,
lot of changes, but I think that there are a few people going in the right direction.
yeah, and I know that there's
That's what they're for.
yeah, and I think that if we do reframe it in that way, and even a lot of ecotourism things where we're focused on the sustainability, and then people can come and see how that's happening and be inspired by that, rather than mistreating these animals, and instead you're just rescuing them, and then people can still get the education that they'd like and still be able to see that animal in real life without harming any of the environmental negative environmental impacts.
I think zoos have a bit more of a responsibility. So if you've ever gone to the Melbourne Zoo, they still carry a lot of single-use products as far as just serving people food and everything. They should be a bit more conscious of how they act in that sense as well.
Yeah, and that's another question we can actually ask. How do you think we can encourage these places where they get a lot of tourists, or even just businesses, to implement more environmentally friendly products, especially if it's not necessarily cheaper for them? Sort of similar to the question we had before, but especially in places like zoos where it is sort of environmentally connected. What do you think is the best way to go about influencing people to implement that? Emily, would you like to have a go at this one?
Yes. Thank you. Yes, I think it'd be a great idea. Of course, as we said earlier, a lot of the eco-friendly products are generally more expensive. So I think some businesses, particularly small businesses, might not be that interested in doing that, because then the prices, they'll have to continue that price to their customers. So coffee might be in an eco-friendly cup, but it will be more expensive. So instead of say a $4 $4.50 coffee, it might be $5.20. But I think in the long run, first of all, it looks really good for your business. But maybe if there was government incentives for businesses to do that, particularly like zoos, because as you said, and as Jessie said, it's about conservation, it's about breeding programs, and yes, they're linked with environmental, they should be linked with environmental initiatives. So I think it would be a really, really good idea, particularly for zoos, to look at that when they have so many people coming through their doors generally every single day, and particularly through the school holidays as well.
I do really believe that if there was more governmental initiatives, like you were saying, then it would really help, because a lot of the times it's just left up to the business owners to do this, and it's hard to be motivated to do that if it's going to cost your business more in the long run. And following on from that, I've got a question here from Nikki Wilson. And Nikki asks, how do we know when a tourism company is really sustainable and when they are greenwashing by adding sustainable words? Iris, would you like to have a go at this question? Can you see the question on the screen?
Yes. So I agree with Nikki about how a lot of operators are greenwashing their company and business. So they're not doing the good for the environment, but they want to secure a piece in this environmentally awareness market pie. So they will greenwash their business and make it sound good. Everyone can have the ecotourism marketing hype, but so there are a few ways that you can do it. One is researching. So make informed decision by researching and asking for evidence. You can ask them, can you give me the strategic plan? How are you going to reduce your carbon emission or carbon footprint for your business? And what changes have been made since you implement these practices? And, you can ask for data or numbers or some evidence. I think that's probably one of the best ways, and you are allowed to ask those questions. And also you can have reviews, ask people feedback, people who have joined that tour before. So, yeah.
Those are really great ideas. I love all of those. And Nikki and I were actually talking the other day on our live about how, so Nikki Wilson, the one that asked the question, there's two Nicholas, not to get confused. We were talking about how it's so hard these days to find reliable information in terms of greenwashing, and how we wish there was just like one place that we could go, one website that we could go to be able to see all the verifiable information without fear of greenwashing influencing these ecotourism and eco-environmental products and things like that. So I 100% agree with you there. Speaking of ecotourism, It is very timely that our sponsor this afternoon, Megaworld International, have done projects that support and preserve the environment. And whoever will win the next Miss Earth Australia, and when international travel is open and able to fly to the Philippines, the home of Miss Earth International, they will have a chance to visit one of the key projects of Megaworld International right there in the heart of its national capital, Manila, the new port city. Newport City is a 25-hectare world-class township and ecotourism destination where play, relaxation, and highly cosmopolitan urban lifestyle thrives. Located just across the main international airport, this township fully integrates luxury residence, prime office spaces, world-class hotels, and leisure and entertainment destinations into one vibrant address. Newport City is home to Resorts World Manila, which features an upscale shopping mall, international themed restaurants, a state-of-the-art performing arts theatre, and a first-class gaming hub. Well, I wish that I had the chance to experience this balance of urban lifestyle and green sustainable initiatives when I take my vacation to the Philippines in the future. So there we go, just another extra incentive to get behind Miss Earth Australia this year. Just to defer from the ecotourism subject for a little bit and get back more to yourself and your advocacies, I would love to know what you have done for the environment and what you're planning to do for the environment in the coming future. So who would like to go first for this question? Go,
I'll let
Iris.
Sorry, before my internet is cut off. I've been in and out a lot.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, recently, you know that nurses actually we lose a lot of pens. So I've switched my plastic ball pens to this recyclable pen. So they're 89% less plastic than a normal pen. And I used to lose about 3 pens per day at work. No kidding. Since I bought these pens, actually I don't lose them anymore because they are more expensive and they understand the meaning of them. So I appreciate them more. So less plastic for me, definitely. Yeah.
That's great. And then no one can confuse it. It's like, no, that's definitely my pen. No one else here has these beautiful pens like I do, You know exactly who stole them.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Iris. Nicola, I saw you had your hand up. Please tell me what you're doing currently to help save our environment.
So what I'm currently trying to do, and I really have to change the way I do my environmental advocacy. It's something morally that I feel like I always have to, no matter what circumstance I'm in. But in lockdown, I'm not going out as much. I don't have the opportunity to walk to the place that I usually would or do that kind of thing. So something I'm really trying to do is minimize the energy I use within my house. So for example, I don't use a clothes dryer. I just let stuff dry naturally. I have been really trying, even in winter, especially in winter, not to use things like electric blankets too much. Even if I am at home all day, I've been instead trying to rug up more. I've been really trying to be intentional in my everyday life and in my lockdown life. Not unnecessarily doing loads of washing or dishwasher, waiting till those things have to happen. Sewing up old clothes instead of just buying new ones online. Things like that are what I've really been trying to do. And I know it all sounds really small, but I'm hoping that by being really intentional with that and thinking very clearly and deeply about that and making that effort in my life, I'm hoping that's enough, and I'm always going to try and improve on that. So yeah.
And it really does all add up. And I find that I read a statistic somewhere that the major source of power that is sucked is actually heating and cooling, not like light switches and things like that. So deciding to not use heating and cooling, and in summer, for example, just opening your window instead, can make a massive effect on the energy you use and also the energy bill at the end of the month. So it's, benefiting, two birds, one stone situation here.
Exactly.
Jessie, can you please tell me, what are you currently doing for the environment?
Currently, so as I did mention, I work in fashion, so I've been really trying to gear more of my work towards environmentally friendly companies, such as less fast fashion, trying to work with environmentally friendly designers, products, anything that's sort of, more eco-friendly. I even did a vegan runway, which was amazing. I'm currently sort of running a petition to help change the laws to help keep our national parks more protected and create more protected national parks, as well as raise money for the koala hospital, because we could always use more of those. And I think in the future, I would really like to do more sort of baking things, ways to raise money. And another sort of, it's kind of a strange hobby I have, but I really enjoy taking things that would be considered useless or old and redoing them. So, for example, I take sort of broken furniture and then I revamp them, because I think that finding ways to reuse and remake things that already exist instead of constantly needing something new is just a really cool way to promote like eco-friendly living. It's a bit unique.
No, Jessie, I love that initiative, and especially recently, where I've talked about this previously in the past lives, but I think it's super important. So I'm going to say it again. The recycling industry, for example, is under a lot of strain right now, and so if we're able to reduce or then reuse before we have to recycle, then that makes a massive impact. And there's already so much material out there in terms of fast fashion or furniture that if we're able to, if you're skilled like yourself and we're able to turn it around, then that can last for way longer than having to go to the tip or landfill, which is fantastic.
I think it's good to change the idea that we don't need everything brand new all the time, or we can reuse things that already exist to make something brand new,
I have to say I'm an op shop find. I love it. Like this itself is from an op shop and it's like merino wool jumper. It's fantastic. It's like you find the best things there. So yeah, I totally agree. We're having to reduce and reuse before we recycle and everything. Emily, what are you currently doing to help save our environment?
Yes, well, as I mentioned earlier, so my advocacy is to raise awareness and reduce global consumer consumption. So, sort of like what Jessie was saying, I have my own YouTube channel, which is basically to show the viewers things such as I'm like you, Sheridan. I absolutely love going to op shops or even Facebook buy, swap and sell, which is actually where I got this really nice woolen jumper. It's so nice and warm because it's raining here today. So I love doing those sort of things. And also, you're letting outfits that, they might have only been used once, they're getting another lease on life. And a lot of the time they are cheaper than just going to your, going online or going to a shop and picking out items. So yeah, they're definitely better for the environment, of course, but also they're helping your pocket as well. And I'm also a drama teacher, so I'm trying at the moment, or have been, I'm having to do Zoom calls with my kids at the moment, but when I'm in the studio, we're trying to sort of bring environmental initiatives into the studio. And also, I'm just trying to sort of help our younger generations to sort of inspire them to realise that it starts with them, and I want them to learn so that when they grow up, they're doing the right things for the environment as well. So I've organised, obviously with COVID, I can't do it at the moment with the kids, but I've organised a Clean Up Australia Day for them, and I've also organised a tree planting day as well. So I'm really excited to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's so cool. And as we were talking about in previous lives as well, educating the younger generations and making sure that they know the world that they'll be coming into and how they can help change that and be more environmentally sustainable is such a big factor in the environmental journey and the eco, making sure that the world's going to be good,
Yeah,
like for a better word.
Yeah, I think with the children, when they see the plants that they've gone and they've actually planted, they go back and they water it and they look after it and they see that it's growing and they're actually, it's tangible. They're actually able to see that they've made a difference to the environment themselves.
And like, again, talking about like the connection with the environment and nature, I reckon is super, super important, as you were saying, Emily, because it makes them feel more connected, and so they want to protect it more because it says like they planted that fruit and vegetables, that they want to make sure that it grows up okay. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, girls. I have this other question that I would love to ask you. I think it's a super interesting one, and it's, if you could have the world's attention for 60 seconds, what would you say? And so I'd like to ask all of you this. Jessie, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. I guess for 60 seconds, I would really try to emphasize the fact that we are more connected to the environment and the other things that living in it than we realize. And if we don't start changing our ways, showing respect, start having more conservation globally, in 10 years, we really won't have this like at all. Like we will be out of land mass. We won't have the oceans. So if just for 60 seconds, if people could just realize that small changes, whether it just be where you're consuming your food from or to where you buy your clothes, like these affect literally everybody, not just like some article on the news or some landmass that you'll never see, you know. It's really important that people realize how connected we are to literally everything. I
Thank
think
you so
people get very disassociated.
Thank you so much, Jessie. Once again, going back to that connection, and I love that. That's a beautiful thing to tell the world. Nicola, what would you say to the world if you had their attention for 60 seconds?
I think something I really want to emphasize, well, there are a few things, of course, and I do have 60 seconds, so if I speak quickly enough, but I would really like to emphasize exactly what Jessie was just saying, that we do only have one planet, that we do have this power, even if we feel like we're only one person. Many individuals will be able to come together and make changes. But the other thing that I would like to say, one of them is that we shouldn't have to be in conflict with each other. We all are owning this planet, as in we are all just passing by, we are all part of it, and it is something that we are all invested in, and we have to be. So instead of judging each other, instead of trying to be really like telling others what to do and causing that way, like change that way, sorry, I'd really like to say we are meant to be working together. Instead of putting that energy into arguments, let's do it peacefully. Let's do it in a way where it's not judgmental. It's just about getting the best outcome, because we are in a direction which isn't great at the moment. So it would be really wonderful if we could kind of turn the conversation around from judgment and pointing fingers into working together, and that would be much more conducive, in my opinion. So yeah, that in addition to what Jessie was saying about telling everyone we do only have this one planet.
Thank you, Nicola. And yeah, like when we look at environmental problem, it's not something that just affects one country. We all have to, every single country has to pull their weight. Otherwise, we won't really get anywhere fast enough to be able to offset the environmental degradation that's happening. Iris, if you had the world's attention for 60 seconds, what would you say?
My 60 seconds would be spent on talking about my advocacy. I know that regenerative farming can be controversial, especially in the context where mainstream media focus on demonizing cows. But I just want to say that cow is actually, or cattle or ruminants, they are a vital part of soil health and hence the environment and combat climate change. So I just want to say that it's not the cow, it's the how. And 60 seconds is not enough for me to explain everything I want to say. But I just want to say that we doesn't matter what side of the debate we come from, we should respect each other's opinion, because we're here to protect Mother Earth and to save the planet Earth. So we should have a friendly discussion about the pros and cons of everything, and not just which one is good or bad. It's just a tool. It's no good or bad. It's how you use it and how you implement it.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the time there's that polarization as well, where if you say, well, I don't do this or this, then they automatically think that you're, separated into different categories, when really we need to have these conversations. Oh, she's gone. But anyway, we need to have these conversations.
I really like that.
Good timing.
Because you never know what points of views will be gone, And then finally, Emily, if you had the world's attention for 60 seconds, what would you say?
Well, I'm a chatter, so 60 seconds isn't a lot. But I would just say, I think it's a great point that, it's not just Australia. Obviously, climate change and all these, deforestation and single-use plastics are all issues that we see throughout the world. And I think that there are some really great initiatives that we're seeing, not just in Australia, but in other countries. I heard that, I think it was the Philippines, I believe, they actually have solar-powered streetlights. Like, what an absolutely fabulous idea. And I think that other countries are able to say, well, this works for this particular country. Maybe we could think about implementing it in our country. So it's not about obviously pointing the finger like I think Nick was saying earlier. It's maybe getting some ideas from other countries and saying, okay, well, this is fabulous. And I know Copenhagen's also a leading city that has some really great environmental initiatives as well. So I think definitely looking at other countries that are on the forefront for environmental issues as well, that's a really great step in the right direction. And in terms of climate change, I know that there's some people who say, oh well, I think this person's ignorant, then they're not paying attention. But also there's I think education plays into it as well. Some people don't actually know. And so do your research. I mean, there's so much scientific evidence to suggest, climate change is real because of the greenhouse gases. You've just got to do your research and educate yourself that way. And then we'll all be able to band together and to try and save our environment.
Going off what you said, Emily, in terms of research, I find a lot of the time that when you're just starting your environmental journey or you're looking to delve deeper into it, there's a lot of information out there that can be very overwhelming for people, and they won't really know if something's correct or not, like what we were talking about earlier with greenwashing, where it claims to be environmentally sustainable and then it's not. And this question I'm about to ask goes out to anyone. How do you recommend people just beginning their environmental journey? Like, what resources do you recommend that they look at in order to get a deeper understanding of the issues that are happening currently? Who would like to answer that?
What's the question? Sorry, I missed it.
No, that's okay. Nicola will go and I'll message you the question.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what I would say to people starting out, because I mean, all of us were starting out at one point, and I think we could all agree that it's so daunting. There are so many issues and so many advocacies in the world that you want to jump on board with, and there's so many injustices that you just are thinking, this isn't right, I need to do something. But don't overstretch yourself. You are one person, and of course you can have so much impact, but do not do more than you are capable of. Just focus on the things you are passionate about. You don't need to solve all the world's problems. You just need to try. You need to do your own research and do research from reputable organizations. And some places which I'd really say that is Iris's charity, which is WWF. I think it's excellent. My own one is Meat Free Monday, and I really would recommend people look into that too. It's a really lovely idea, and I think it would be incredible if more people could pick that up. And aside from that, we have incredible research, of course, from UNESCO. I really would recommend that. Looking at really unbiased sources so you can form your own opinion, look at the things that really matter to you, and yeah, just go from there.
I was on mute because I was typing the question.
Oh, good. I thought it was from my end.
No, I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm not.
I was like, yeah.
No, yes, thank you, Nicola. That advice is really important. I hope the viewers watching are able to use that and implement that into their environmental journeys. Iris, were you able to get the question? Would you like me to repeat it? I think Iris is frozen. Okay, that's all right. It's just one of those days. It's raining outside, so we can blame the connections up there in the air. We are nearing the end of our live now. It's been fantastic chatting with all of you girls. But before we go, I would just like you to say a final statement or something, maybe if you're working towards, for example, Emily, your YouTube channel, if there's anything you want to shout out, or if you've got any projects coming up that you want people to get behind and support, such as baking, Jessie, like volunteering and things like that, please just let us know now as we wrap up. So Nicole, would you like to give us your final statements and thoughts on this live?
Yeah, I'd love to. So my Instagram, if anyone wants to keep up with that, it will probably be linked soon. It's Nicova, which is NICCHAVA. And that would be the best way to keep up with me. And in addition to that, you'll just really see everything that I'm doing on there. So I would absolutely love if anyone could just catch up with me there, ask anything. I promise I don't bite, and I really love to talk to people. I love talking to all different kinds of people and learning more about others and our world. So I really also appreciate anyone who tuned in. Thank you so much for listening. We wouldn't be here without the audience, so thank you so much, and I'm really grateful.
Thank you, Nicola. And for also anyone watching in the audience today, if you go to the Miss Earth Australia Instagram page, All of the national finalists' Instagram should be linked there on the photos of themselves if you weren't able to write down their handles in time. So please go check that out, and please go follow the Miss Earth Australia Instagram page and all of these finalists, because they're all on amazing environmental journeys right now, and I would hate for any of our viewers to accidentally miss out on one of them. Jessie, any final thoughts or comments on this live, and anything that you would like to promote while we're here?
Yeah, sure. So if you wanted to follow me, my Instagram is Jessie_Thorn. I'm also doing giveaways to help raise money on my Twitch channel, which is PixelXFox with 2 X's. I'm doing little Pokemon giveaways, art giveaways, just to sort of get people more involved in raising money and to feel like you're getting something back and helping me. I also have a petition going, and there's a link on my Instagram if you'd like to sign my petition to help protect wildlife and their habitats. Thank you for listening. Feel free to message me. I'm much better at one-on-one than I am public speaking, but I do really appreciate the platform that you've given me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessie. And what was the what were you raising money for? Was it for a particular organisation?
It's the Koala Hospital. After 2020, not only did the fires severely affect the population, but the government then went and logged a massive amount of the land, putting over an extra 700 koalas either killed or injured. So they're still really overworked and could really use the funds. And yeah, he doesn't want to help the koalas.
Very timely, because this month is actually Koala Awareness
Yes,
Month.
it is actually.
That's fantastic. And these little Pokemon things, are they things that you make yourself with upcycling, or are they things that you're just auctioning off in order to help?
Things that I'm auctioning off. I'm getting to the stage where I'm actually learning to make things for giveaways, but I'm not quite there yet. So they're just little plushies as a token to say thank you for the support. You know, if people loved animals as much as Pokemon, that would be amazing. But, you know, we're getting there.
If only, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jessie. And Emily, what are your final thoughts, comments, and anything that you'd like to promote on this live?
Hopefully my network's okay. So if you can hear me, I would just love to say, first of all, thank you to you, Sheridan, for facilitating this today. And also thank you so much for the Miss Earth Australia organisation for choosing me to be one of the New South Wales National Finalists. I really do appreciate it. And for everyone here today who's listening and who've liked it, liked the live, and have also put in little comments for us, that was thank you. Thank you for your time. That I'm sure we all really appreciate it. And as Sheridan said earlier, if you'd like to look at my YouTube channel, it's I am Emily Isabel. So I do have videos about sustainable clothing and some other videos on there about eco-friendly products and things like that. So if you'd like to know a bit more, and I'd love for you to check that out. So thank you to the other candidates as well. And I hope that everyone stays safe during this time, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. I'll definitely be checking out that YouTube channel. I'm sure there's some excellent advice and tips on there. And hopefully this lockdown will end soon, so that maybe we can come and visit each other while I'm in Wagga. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Some projects.
I'll hold you.
And then, sorry, yeah, don't worry. You can message me. Make sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
okay, I will.
And Iris, what are your final comments or thoughts on this live? And is there anything that you would like to promote while you've got the world's attention?
So I thank you very much, everyone, for watching this live stream. I know that my friends, family, colleagues, fans, supporters are watching. I can't name you, but thank you so much. I see all your comments. So my last words is going to be used to answer the question earlier, because I was too late, my internet connection. So about the question about the overwhelming information on the internet, I just want to say that when you look at statistics, don't look at them at face value. They're more nuanced than that, and scrutinize everything that you read on the internet and from different sources, different evidence, so you can compare them side by side. But yeah, my last word would be thank you everyone for supporting me, and my fundraising concert for WWF is going to be next Tuesday, so make sure you're going to come.
Fantastic. Where will that concert? Would that be on your Instagram or?
It's going to be on my Facebook. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And what's your? Did you say your Facebook? Sorry.
Yeah, Facebook.
Yeah, okay, sweet, fantastic. I was reading some comments, so I got a little bit momentarily distracted, but that's amazing. Thank you. We'll make sure to post a reminder of that as well. Thank you to all of our national finalists. This is the very last round of environmental talks. You all did such an amazing job. Sorry that there won't be one next week. I'm really enjoying these. But I will be doing lives one-on-one with any of the national finalists that are interested. This is not a mandatory Instagram live. This is just something extra to do if the candidates have time, because obviously right now, they're all very busy with Miss Earth Australia preparations. So please make sure to check out my Instagram, Sheridan Mortlock Official, and the Miss Earth Australia Instagram to stay up to date on when those lives will be, if you want to get to know your candidates more one-on-one, which is a great way to get behind them and show your support. And also, thank you so much to all of our viewers today. We had so many comments. I could barely get through all of the questions. I know I left some out, but thank you so much for your support. Thank you, Carl Doggett. Thank you, Xander Baylor, Huang Li, Cecilia Castillo. Thank you, Jojo. Thank you so much all for watching. And also a big thank you to our sponsor for this afternoon again, Megaworld International, and Liz Angeles, Vice President for Asia and Pacific 3. Also a special thank you to Stargazer Productions, license holder and owner of Miss Earth Australia, headed by our lovely and beautiful National Director, Julieta de Leon. I will invite everyone that the pageant heats are coming up for the first part of the pre-pageant competition. The Beauty of Face round and the talent presentation is next week. It'll be at the same time on the same channel, so please feel free to tune into that as pageant preparation gets well underway for the finals. Once again, thank you everybody for listening and watching, and please go follow these beautiful ladies on their Miss Earth Australia journey, and we will see you all next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.